What's the deal, y'all? What's the deal, y'all? Rich Trapper tapping in, TNN Trap News Network, back in the same, like cook cracking this thing here at TNN Trap News Network. It's that good news you. It's that good knowledge. You ain't finna get nobody's college with dog. Hit the like, hit the comment, hit the subscribe button for everything we got going on here at TNN Trap News Network. It's that news you can use, that knowledge. You ain't finna get nobody's college. Tap in with the tap in. Make sure you are in fact tapped in with that good tap in. Hit that like, hit that comment, hit that good subscribe button. Everything we got going on here at TNN Trap News Network. If you want to be a TNN Trap News Network live correspondent, hit me up on Instagram, TRAPNEWSNETWORX Trap News Network. Man, it's real early in the morning. Real early in the morning. Make sure y'all tap in with that tap in, hit that notification bell. We finna slide over here to this courthouse and hear what exactly the witness had to say in his testimony against Cassie Ventura in this wild Diddy trial. You would never believe what he says that Cassie asked him to do. Let's jump into this content. Let's go.
From a male worker who explained his experiences with Diddy and Cassie Ventura. Now, this man claimed that Cassie Ventura paid him to have physical relationships with her. He said that his boss called him and said that they couldn't find any black dancers, so he needed him to go to a bachelorette party in downtown Manhattan. The government then asked, "What did you expect to do?" And he said, "A little dance." He said that when he got to the hotel room, Cassie was in a red wig, stockings, and sunglasses, and she gave him a few $100s. The room had red couches, there was the Astroglide and lubricant, and there was a man on the right side of the room. The man had on a white robe and a bandana over his face just below his eyes and a baseball cap, and from his voice he recognized him as Sean Combs. The government said, "What did he say?" And he said that he was into importing and exporting. The man went on to claim that he said he was having problems with his boss, and the defense yells objection. The government said, "I'll get back to that. After you had physical relationships, what happened?" And he said, "Cassie gave me a couple $1,000s more. He said to give them my phone number. I did, and Cassie called me and asked me for a photo. She called me to go back, and I did for a few hours, and then a few times after that." The government said, "Was Diddy always present?" And he said yes. The government then asked, was there any other locations? And he said yes, the Essex house, his residence on 56th Street, and I believe 210 at the time, and her residence on West End Avenue, I think number 10. "What were you to say when you got there?" And he said black. He then said, "I would send her vulgar text messages." "Like what? You want me to say it? Give me an example." "I'd text, 'I wanna F you right now.'" "How often did you use baby oil?" "Every time." He claimed that Diddy said we didn't have enough baby oil on. He said, "Y'all slow down, separate from each other." One time he tried to have us role play like we just met at an airport, but we weren't good, so we skipped that. "What direction did Diddy give you?" And he said he'd tell me to step off and back off. "How many times, if any, were you told to relieve yourself on Cassie Ventura?" And this is when the defense yells objection. The man said, "They told me not to do it all at once." The defense yells objection to him saying they. The judge said, "I've got it." The government then said, "What happened afterward?" "Leave me waiting for hours. The whole thing might go on for 10 hours. They were headed to Essex Hotel, and they said go in 30 minutes. It was the first time he opened the door as himself, dressed in a suit, no mask." The government said, "How did things change?" And the male dancer said he didn't feel, and Diddy's defense said objection. Government then asked who, if anyone, recorded, and he said Diddy with a cell phone and a camcorder. "He took photos of my driver's license for insurance," he said. Diddy's team objects. The judge says focus it. The government said, "What did you understand?" And he said he was threatening me. He said, "Once I went, Cassie was slumped over, and he said that it wasn't going to happen this time." "Did Diddy offer you substances?" He said, "Molly, I guess it's called. I don't do substances." "I think I went out and handed out $100 bills." The government said, "How did the Molly make you feel?" And he said sick and like an idiot, handing out $100 bills. The government said, "Who else was present?" He said, "A guy who told me he was an actual escort. He was having physical relationships with Cassie at her apartment." The guy was looking at Sean Combs, and Combs said, "Don't be looking at me." And then Diddy's team yells objection. The government then asked, "Did it seem like you were not the first person there?" And he said, "Yes." "Have used Astroglide, towels on the floor." The government said, after the $100 bills, did you see them again? And he said, I couldn't do it anymore. What did you get paid when you couldn't perform? And he said, nothing. But I never asked for money. I was happy to get involved with people with such notoriety. But after I saw Diddy hit Cassie, I couldn't do it anymore. What was Mr. Combs saying when he met Cassie? And he said, when I tell you to come over, you come over. And I didn't know what to do. The government said, did you intervene? He said no, that there were bodyguards. The government said, what's next? He said, are you all ready to continue? The government said, did you try? And he said, I don't recall. The government said, did you see them again? And he said that I thought I had developed some sort of friendship with Cassie. I may have been speculating. He went there and he heard Diddy slapping her. He walked out in a towel and she ran to me. I asked, why are you staying with this guy? She said it was okay. And then this is where Diddy's team will start cross-examining him. The man said that he worked for a male revenue show. Diddy's team said, you were a manager, male people for women? And he said yes. Was prohibited, and he said that's correct. Your job was to build it up, and he said yes or no, and Diddy's team said I'll go with yes, and then objection was yelled and it was sustained. Diddy's team then asked if the company opened fake businesses to optimize search results, and he said fake addresses. It was just CEO. Diddy's team said, you went to optimize the lady's experiences, and he said, I have no idea what you mean. It's just our slogan. He then said, Cassie told you to say the name Black, and he said,
Now, goodness gracious, this is a lot for $2 early in a Wednesday morning. Just not even 6 o'clock yet, and this is what's going on in the world. But all right, that's woo-wee. Diddy, you a wild boy, man. You a wild boy. You a wild boy. Call you Steve-O. Cause goodness gracious, man. Let's get to just a couple quick topics. Apparently Diddy used to, according to testimony, this is all alleged, according to testimony, none of this is my opinion. This is all what we are reading in the testimony and hearing in this video based off court statements and court documents. Allegedly Diddy would enjoy another man pouring his baby gravy, if you will, onto Cassie, and at which point he would take said baby gravy and rub it upon his napelia. Righty. So that is that crazy wild situation. I'm not sure exactly what pleasure he got out of that, but I can imagine it's you reach a point where you've done so many things that I don't know. There's no way you can make sense of that. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody got their things, everybody got their whatever. So, what you're doing, how you get your freak on is your business, but that's wild. And then you got this dude, what's apparent is what's apparent is clear that he used to be putting his hands on that girl in a crazy, ridiculous fashion. That is crazy as well, too, because that's something that everybody seemingly has a consistency on. He gave them substances and he make, that girl into what will be rock'em sock'em robot is what we'll kind of put that in. And that paired up with that video from that hotel is gonna be hard to beat. It's gonna be hard for his defense to combat that. Now, I will say this, Diddy has Brian Steele as his lawyer. That's the guy who, beat Young Thug, trial that, whatever. You know about Brian Steele, especially in the state of Georgia. You know that Brian Steele is kind of a joint out here in the legal world. Very high profile lawyer. So we'll see kind of what goes on with that. But this is some shit, boy. I tell you that. Let's continue this content.
He said, you went to optimize the lady's experiences, and he said, I have no idea what you mean. It's just our slogan. He then said, Cassie told you to say the name Black, and he said yes. Your boss told you someone wanted a black man, and he said yes again. He said, let me show you. And he put something on the screen, and then they were saying, take it off. Diddy's team then asked if Cassie was wearing a wig, and he said yes. She handed you the money, and he said she handed me $4,000. They said before any oil rubbing, and he said correct. She had on heels and dark glasses. Where did the money come from? And he said her hand. You were wearing a New York City Police Department uniform, right? and he said, I bought a New York Police Department t-shirt. He said, you took the oil off in front of Cassie, and he said, the oil? No, I took my clothes off, and she said, it's my birthday. Diddy's team then asked, did it appear she was enjoying herself? And he said, yes. He said, what was your position? And he said, missionary. I was like, did that just happen? And then he asked, did she ask you for a photo? And he said, I don't know if it was Sean Combs who asked for it. And the judge said, ignore that. While you and Cassie Ventura were having relationships for hours, Cassie Ventura took the lead. He said, no. You took the lead. We were equally doing our thing. There isn't a leader. You decided together? Yes. Diddy's team then asked, is it fair to say that she was in complete control of everything she was doing? He said, I can't say that. You said you didn't wear protection? I did not. Your boss told you Cassie Ventura paid for the hotel? Yes. Diddy's team then asked, she paid with her credit card? He said, I have nothing to do with that. She used her card to pay for the dancer. Okay, so the abuse at her apartment on 11th Avenue. He said, I believe it was West End Avenue. You claim that Diddy told her to come over. She said she had her personal information on the computer, so wait a minute. And he threw a bottle at her? Correct. He comes out and says, are you ready? Are you guys ready? Diddy's team then says, isn't it true that Diddy told you, yo man, I'm going to have to deal with this. You're going to need to get the F out. That is not correct. In 2023, didn't you tell prosecutors, yo man, objection, not evidence? Did you date a model named Aaliyah? I didn't say I dated her. We were friends. You were with her and saw Cassie with someone not Mr. Combs? Yes. You told Malia you saw Cassie socially? Yes. You thought Cassie wanted to see you one-on-one. Nothing to do with Sean Combs, right? I don't see what you mean. In front of the Dream Hotel, that's what you thought. And he said no. You only saw her inebriated one time. I saw her passed out on the couch. Diddy told me, I don't think it's going to happen today. The time with the other male, you rotated? Not correct. You watched? Yes. You said that Mr. Combs was directing, but do you recall meeting the prosecutors on March 28th of 2025 and telling them that you did not recall Mr. Combs giving directions about positions? Yes. So he didn't direct? Incorrect. You thought you were in a relationship with Cassie, didn't you? No. You wanted to get alone with her, to date her? If she'd let me, I would have. You get jealous of Mr. Combs? No. Did you not tell them that Mr. Combs would tell you it's my turn? Objection. Didn't you tell the government that you would feel jealous because you liked Miss Ventura romantically? I do not recall that. Pull up 3570. Just for the parties. I do not recall that. Nothing further. The government then asked, please explain why Mr. Combs directed you. He asked about positions, but Mr. Combs did tell us what to do. Use baby oil. The timing of the handling of cash. How did the amount compare to your services? It was $3,800 more. How much were you paid to perform when you could? $700 to $5,000 or $6,000. When you couldn't perform, they paid me nothing. Did Miss Ventura call you after the Dream Hotel? Yes. Do you know who she was with? No. Did she answer your text messages? Never, almost. You said you wanted to hug her. Why? I could see that she was afraid. What did you do? I could not engage. I was messed up. What did Mr. Combs say to you? He said it's time to go. In the hotel, who was in the room? Sean Combs, myself, and Cassie. And when she appeared to enjoy herself, was Sean Combs always in the room? Yes. Was that the same man who called her the B word and beat her? I did not see the beating, I presume. Objection. You heard slapping? Yes. Nothing further. Now Diddy's team comes back in and says, this document, do you see where you said I'm on the Upper West Side? She says 10 West End Ave. Hit me when you're there. Yes. Do you see your text? Don't give a F. I'm a little tipsy. I love y'all N-word. Yes. That was after the beating? Yes. Nothing further. Now it gets redirected again and the government said, why did you write that? I wanted them to see I had no problem with what he had done. It kept going. No further questions. This is the end of that worker's testimony.
Yeah, this is a tricky situation, man. It's a tricky situation, especially when they start throwing it into the atmosphere that old boy was in love. That could cause a huge problem when it comes to intention behind testimony, and as far as, for lack of better words, credibility of the witness. That's a tricky situation. There's a lot of money being exchanged as well too. They're asking very specific questions. Who paid for what? Who did this? That's to pretty much kind of see, like, is she complicit in this? Is she a victim? Is she being made to do this? What's going on here, man? Because financial records will a lot of times kind of be a trail for a lot of truth. You know, you kind of follow the money. You follow a lot of things. In this situation, you know, we're probably going to have to wait to come to the end of this entirety to see exactly where this is going to go, because this testimony and these stories are only going to get crazier and crazier. If everybody maintains the consistency of the substance abuse, the physical abuse, as well as the baby oil abuse, I guess, the misusage of baby oil, I guess, whatever, that's going to be a thing. You know, they're saying that they have the astral glide and the protection and all that kind of stuff for adult situations. All that's a lot. I'm going to just keep y'all posted as these stories are more continue to update, because this right here is a flu flammering, a skullduggery, and a larcenous situation. But y'all know the deal, though. We about to the next one. Red dot to the left. Y'all know the rest. And it's free Avenue Angel until he's free. It's gone. We out of here.